the party president, Mosiuoa Lekota, reportedly responding to that, saying he's not out. Let's speak, you saw him in that insert, let's speak to the COPE Deputy President, Willie Madisha. Mr. Madisha, the report's now suggesting that Mosiuoa Lekota and the chair of the party have suspended you, the Secretary for Communications, Dennis Blum, and the Secretary for Elections. So please help us make head or tail of this. Do we have now two factions claiming to be in charge of the party?
You see, that is exactly the problem that we have reason to say. It is arising, where the president of the organization, instead of making sure that work proceeds in a way that the organization is built properly, he goes out and convince people who are actually not even members of the organization. That is extremely wrong. And we cannot go on properly. You know the people that have been, raised or cited as people that have been suspended. Those are the people who are doing work on a daily basis. But then Mr. Lekota and the so-called chairperson just go out and get their friends in a rendezvous and take those kind of decisions.
Yeah.
We cannot allow that. And therefore, that is why the members of the executive from all the provinces and those who were elected at the Congress came together and said, this is wrong, and therefore he must be suspended.
Mr. Madisha, so help me understand. When I spoke to Mosiuoa Lekota not so long ago, because there were rumblings that people in the party wanted him out, there have been rumblings before as well, but he said that the only official decision that could be taken was by a national structure, which was the Congress National Committee, that he was the leader of as the president of the party. Is that correct? The Congress National Committee had to make the decision. And have you followed the Constitution? Is that the body that has suspended him?
He is correct. It is the Congress National Committee that has the capacity to do that in line with the Constitution. Now, like I have said, the CNC is the one that came together and took that particular decision.
Yeah. So may I ask you, where was Mr. Lekota at that time? Because apparently, according to him, he's the head of the CNC. Was he asked to recuse himself, or was he not invited?
Of course he was invited, and we have proof. And we had to wait for him. We called him on 7 occasions on that day. He knew that the meeting was going to take place, but he decided not to come. And to tell you the truth, he is the person that had before the meeting initiated that the meeting must sit, but then he decided not to come, and the meeting then went ahead and took those particular resolutions. We want to believe that he chose not to come because he knew that the meeting was going to deal with some of this kind of problems which he had caused, and so he chose not to come, and as a result of that, the meeting was able to take those decisions.
The chairperson, Teboho Loate, is standing with Lekota. Now, he's quoted as saying that Mosiuoa Lekota has the full support of that committee. So you're saying that's not true?
Teboho Loate is a member of the leadership. I want to say that he is the one that went with Mr. Lekota to this meeting, which divided the organization. Now, the leadership of the organization elected at the Congress consists of 9 people, and he only took Mr. Loate, and the 2 of them went to that particular meeting together with a few other people, most of whom are no longer members of the Congress of the People, and did whatever they wanted to do. And that is wrong. That is why whatever Loate says is wrong. Whatever Mr. Lekota says is wrong.
Yeah.
What COPE is looking at is to make sure that the organization is rebuilt properly, and we go on and satisfy those people who are either members or have voted for COPE.
It seems like that's going to be very difficult now. COPE has dwindled. I understand you got about 40,000 South Africans voting for you last time. Do you think they'll stay while there's a leadership battle now? Presumably this will have to play out in the courts. Are you ready for that? Do you have the resources for that? And did you receive what Lekota and the chairperson are saying was a letter that they sent earlier saying cease and desist and don't hold that press conference?
It is extremely unfortunate, particularly when you look at the leadership, the stature of Mr. Lekota, because he comes from very far. He should not be the person who encourages this kind of things. I must emphasize that. And talking about the courts, etc., that is something that is just out. And that which Mr. Luate may be saying should be the case, he too is just out of order because he contributes in the division of the organization. The people who voted for COPE when COPE was when COPE started and went to the first elections was about 1.3 million. But the people became angry because both Mr. Lekota and the history can prove that has been going on to divide the organization. And now it has become worse. That is why instead of the 37 members of parliament that we had when we went to our first elections, the number has gone down to only 2 at the moment. And we truly cannot agree with that. And that is what our Congress National Committee cited when they took these resolutions.
This is very sad for Mr. Lekota. In a sense, you have turned on him. I spoke to Dennis Bloem earlier, and he was saying that the party was concerned about things you've cited in your press release, that he didn't have the energy to be a member of parliament. There have been claims about his health. But that's one thing, to be concerned about his mental or physical health. But now you're saying he's divisive. And at that time, Dennis Bloem was pointing to him still staying on as a leader, but not being in parliament. But presumably now it's going to be all-out war in a sense, and you want him out completely.
It is an open secret that he indeed has not been in parliament for quite some time. And there, us being only 2 people representing COPE, we are supposed to do our best. But of course, it is given his health problems that he has not been able to make it frequently to Parliament. And I want to emphasize that we did meet with him on a number of occasions, at least 4 occasions to the best of one's knowledge. And in all those meetings that we had with him as the national leadership, he agreed that he would actually step aside. But then we are now surprised that he hasn't done that. And let me emphasize that we don't simply want him to step aside. All that we are saying is South Africans voted for us. South Africans wanted to be members of COPE. Some of those South Africans have moved out of COPE, and COPE truly has got to do whatever it can to do that which South Africans want. But then the CNC said to our executive committee, go and sit down, make sure that we come up with ways and means of making sure that all these kind of problems that we are faced with as a sequel to him not being healthy. Go and sit and make sure that you deal with this kind of problems.
All right. So seemingly this is going to be contested, possibly in the courts. Mosiuoa Lekota is saying he's still in right standing as president, but that was Willie Madisha, COPE's deputy president, saying that he has been suspended and all the constitutional prescripts have been followed.